Now, Kola Abiola, the son of the late acclaimed winner of the 1993 presidential election, MKO Abiola, has joined the People's Redemption Party. Kola, while joining the PRP, says he will mobilize Nigerian youths to take over power from the All Progressives Congress in 2023. This is just as the PRP has unveiled its timetable and guidelines for the 2023 general elections. Abiola told leaders of the party and journalists that he is still consulting on whether to contest for any elected position or not, adding that he has already promised to mobilize youths to support the PRP's takeover of power in 2023. He says his decision to choose the PRP instead of any of the two major political parties is because it is the only platform that has maintained its policy and ideology over the years. Let's listen to him.
I'm just going to add to what you have said, sir. As opposed to my friend from Nation newspaper. Personally, I only see two parties. I've always said PDP and APC are one party. There's no difference. See your leadership in PDP today, in APC today, ex-PDP. It's the only country in the world that a chairman of A can leave A and go around for the chairman of B. So they're one and the same. There's no idea, and that goes to the point he's making. There is no ideology in those parties. It's what does me best, what suits my program best. So as far as I'm concerned, it's only one party, two parties. That party, the two of them together as one, versus this party. Sorry? Now, going to the question of whether I have any intentions and ambitions and so on and so forth, I'm in a party structure. I've just joined in now. I will look at it, and we only have a few weeks to make decisions anyway. Very few weeks. So once I assess and I intend to bring value.
Well, I'm glad to be joined now by the man himself, Kola Abiola, who is the newest member of the People's Redemption Party. So good to have you on the show, Kola. And let's talk about the values of the PRP that's making you to join this, more than 4 decades old party.
Thank you. First, I would say MKO is not referred to as the supposed winner any longer, since the GCFR award. The government has actually acknowledged that he won that election.
Yeah, so, but the results have never been released.
If the government of the day acknowledges the results, then he won the election for sure.
Okay,
that's one. Over the years, about 2 years now, I've gone around. I've been speaking to a lot of youth, 16 to 38 group. I speak to them a lot, try to encourage them to go out and get their PVCs. That is your lottery ticket to change in Nigeria. And increasingly, the more they get involved, the more they ask me that how would they apply their votes once they have the cards? Who would we vote for? As far as they are concerned, many of them don't believe there's anybody to vote for in the first place. That's why they don't participate. And furthermore, even if we wanted to, because that's part of my message to them, I want you to actually get involved to be able to elect yourselves. They keep telling me there's no party to go to. They have to go into a party, they have to go through somebody. There's existing structures in the place. They need a sponsor and all this and all that. And increasingly I kept on telling myself, they probably have a point. How do I get them all mobilized and with nowhere to go? How do I lead them that far and they can exercise exactly what I've been preaching to them? I looked at all the parties. I looked at the APCs, the PDPs, the DPPs, the Youth Party and all those parties. And increasingly, as I begin to tick that box, I come down to just PRP. It's the oldest party in Nigeria. But also, for me, it's a way to tell the youth that, look, not too long ago, we used to do things right in Nigeria. And this party symbolizes correct, right politics. Politics for the people, representation by the people, and the process is so transparent in this party. And it's been consistent over the last 50 years, since the MPN days. And it's still existing today for some reason. It must be that. And because I've always preached that I want to disrupt the whole electoral process, and that process means that I have to bring down the barriers to entry, funds, party structure. I can't see and I can't find any other political party today of any pedigree that's been consistent enough over the years to lead them to.
Oh, you actually think that getting into the APC or PDP may not give you the enough opportunity to be able to
bring them along,
to disrupt the system? That's why you have to take what looks like a smaller party.
Not necessarily. You see, what I've done is put my money where my mouth is. You know what I'm saying? What I've done is I've said this is what I want to see. I'm leading that drive into this party, so I can show them that, look, I'm serious in what I say. Unfortunately, the political space has abused our mentality in many ways. You can't do this, you can't do that, you can't enter without this, you have to have a huge amount of money to get involved, and so on and so forth. And anytime you come to people, genuinely come and preach a difference, a disruptive difference, they always want to believe there is an ulterior motive from you. So they keep telling me, are you sure this is not a means to an end? And I'm telling them, look, it's not about me. It's about making sure that my kids, the youth in this country, begin to make the change they should have made a long time ago.
Do you think that the PRP shares any ideology with the Social Democratic Party, which on whose platform your late dad actually contested and won elections?
It was a different scenario then. We had two parties to be political in. When you had the NRC and the SDP. The SDP was a progressive, and we are progressive, and that's why we ended up in SDP. The only truly progressive party I know today is PRP.
Not the All Progressives Congress.
No, that seems to be, and I was not sure how I put this. It's like a collection of supposed misfits in the other parties. So they're trying to come together and make one whole in one party. And
I'm asking you this because the likes of Bola Tinubu contested under SDP and won.
Yeah, absolutely.
He became a senator under the platform of the SDP in those days. And most of the players within the aborted Third Republic, in one way or the other, found themselves in the APC and led to its formation and are still therein. Let's talk about the values of the political system and why it's been difficult for a party that calls itself progressives to be able to bring those ideals that a lot of people thought that the migration from SDP to an APC, for example, could be able to create the desired change in the country.
Unfortunately, it's no more politics about ideology any longer. It's no more politics of ethics. It's no more politics of a doctrine. It's purely a politics of a means to an end. So if I'm in PDP today and for some reason it doesn't suit my ideology and my candidacy, not ideology here, I will move to the next one. So what you're finding is that you have a mixed bag of same politicians back and forth in these two parties. So there isn't differentiation any longer. Like I've always said, there's only one party there, both of them. I don't see the difference in them. They just swing back and forth. And for as long as that is the case, how does a new set of people that we, youth and population that we're trying to bring into active politics, how do they exist in such a setup? They will never be able to, it will never change. And I keep telling them, it's not about spending money. No amount of money in the world would change a system that has its own structure and is owned by a few people, and controlled by a few people. So no matter how, even if you outdo them and you actually beat them at it, you're still going to lose at the end of the day because they're going to tell you to sit down and look, it's not quite your turn yet.
Now, let's take a look back at history.
Yes.
Your father was a member and financier of the National Party of Nigeria, NPN, and he even became a party executive at some point and all of that. Yeah. He migrated way up until the aborted Third Republic and joined the SDP, which was a creation of the military and all of that. Right. There must have been some driving ideology behind those sort of polity. I mean, playing mainstream politics. But here you are playing fringe stream, if I can say something like that, politics. Why don't you want to join the mainstream to change? Because for Abiola to have joined the mainstream political parties, it means he only thought that the best way to create a change is to join the bigger political parties.
I think I need to step back a bit here. The only reason we started off with MPN, and I remember quite clearly, I was just out of secondary school then, I traveled Nigeria with him on that campaign, was because he believed that to make Nigeria, he was a nationalist to start with, and he believed to make Nigeria work, we had to have a handshake across the country. And he believed that the MPN then represented a collective group of individuals from all over Nigeria. MPN represented Nigeria at that point in time, as opposed to UPN that was purely regional, or all the other parties. So he joined that because he believed that without us sitting across the table and having a handshake, Nigeria wouldn't go any further. Now, when it came to 1992, 93, right, we were all cocooned into two parties. All two parties had national representation. And because he's a progressive, we ended up in SDP. So it's not a case of ideal. It's not a case of just going after my goals here. It's a case of the principles. So SDP stood for a progressive, and the NRC was a conservative party, and that's how come we ended up in SDP. So there was some method to the madness in a way. So that's how we evolved and ended up there. And as a family, we are consistent being progressives. Whether you call it social democrats or social progressives, we've always been progressives. And nothing out there in these two present parties today, for me, represents that ideology. Nothing in those two parties today would allow for our youth to have a step in to make a difference. And I cannot lead them into such formation. For me, decision making is very emotional. I'm very sensitive to what I do because I think through it thoroughly. And if I take that step, I'm pretty much sure in my mind that this is the way to go. It's up to me now to convince everybody to see the foresight in which I'm going.
Yeah,
I'm not talking about
the SDP, for example, was a party that could actually, a party machinery that could actually win elections.
Yeah.
Compared to the PRP now, do you think that it has the capacity to be able to mobilize the much needed votes to win elections across the country? Because I mean, this is a party that's just been on the fringe, it's just been laid back for a long period of years.
PRP is what it is today and has survived this long. It is taking the shape it has today for two reasons. Because of the doctrine, the ethics, and the forthrightness in which they run their party, it hasn't attracted money.
So money bags were not allowed to come in because they were afraid that they would pollute the ideology of the party.
It hasn't and because it hasn't attracted money, it hasn't attracted enormous intellectual capacity also.
And you think you're bringing in money into the party?
I believe we are bringing fresh youth who are sick and tired of what's going on. And I've always told them that the only way you will make that difference is if you vote and get involved. You must hold governance accountable. All the problems put together, it all begins and ends with leadership. And if that leadership is elected without your votes, they can't be accountable to you. So you have to go there and give those votes to what you think is the right people. And at the same time, that gives you the right to withdraw it from them. And they will hold you, they will start doing things right because they know they can be voted out. But right now, we don't count.
Yeah, so and that's because it's expensive to run elections in the country.
It doesn't have to be.
And that's why I'm asking you. If, for example, you are going to be a financier of the PRP like your father used to be at the NPN and even the SDP.
I'm not financing PRP. No. What I'm saying to kids is that if you can come together, right? Look, PRP today is so transparent. It's the only party today that you could go online and register as a member. PRPnigeria.ng. For 100 naira. It only costs you 100 naira.
Interesting.
I'm not sure what you can buy for 100 naira today, but it only costs 100 naira to do that. You don't have to. You see, the problem is you don't have to go to your local government. And all the bigger parties could do that. It's a 50-year-old party, but it's more progressive in its thoughts. All the bigger parties can do that, but because they hold on to the party cards and they decide who gets them to do what they need to do, they can't be that transparent.
So PRP is a member-led
party. It's a member-led party. That's one. Two, just to run. You can even look. Our youth work in a very disrupted and disrupting environment. Today, if you want to run for a local government chairman in PRP, it costs you 105,000 naira. You can crowdfund that. Honestly, that's what it costs. 250 for state assembly. I can't remember what it was for governor, but senator is 2.5. House of Rep is 1.5. Simple. You just buy, take it. If you win the screening, then you will have to count on the people power to take you there.
And how much is it to actually purchase forms to run for the presidential ticket?
10 million naira.
10 million, interesting.
Yeah, it's a lot cheaper than running for.
Yeah, and I want to have your views and actually on that's like 10% of that of the APC, 100 million naira.
Yeah.
When you see the APC pegging its nomination fees at 700 talking about
dollars.
No, not necessarily dollars. Talking about 70 million naira here for the main form, and then 30 million naira for the expression of interest form.
Yeah.
What comes to your mind? What sort of polity are we trying to bring? What sort of direction is the ruling party giving to
They
Nigerians?
systematically told us we have no business in politics. That's what they're telling us. They're systematically telling us to our face that you don't have a right to be involved. Because at that level, how many people can? If you have spent 100 million on a ticket, where do you start from to begin to govern? Not talk about the delegate elections coming up, which is another scam on its own. Let's talk about the delegate elections. Not talk about running for the general election itself. So this is a system that and that's why PRP is so different. It's really grassroots based. Look, I don't have to give Sambo. Sorry, what state are you from?
Well, I'm from the nation's capital, Abuja.
Okay, well, I don't need to give Sambo 2 billion to go and deliver FCT. No, because all you do is go and rig it and keep the pocket and keep the funds. That's what they do. If I really want this job, I will go around every local government and get people to mobilize.
Well,
and they will chip in.
APC top executives have been explaining the reason why it's 100 million, and they say that to weed out others, because it's the ruling party. A lot of persons are interested in just coming, some of them for showmanship based on what the party executives are saying. How do we change our democracy to be a people-driven democracy?
What they've done there is to say it'll cost you 100 million. We know the ones we want. That's what I've said. Interpret it right. So if you want to think you can just jump in, fine, come. But we've made it so the bar is so high that we know the ones we want, and they are the only ones who are going to be able to afford it. That's what they're saying. So you've already been excluded from the process. How do we make it just and right for everybody? Come to PRP. It's cheap. It's just the basic entry level. And my whole idea is to get fresh minds. Because you see, we have a youth population of 0 to 36, or about 80% in this country. We need that youth population to begin to come and decide and help solve their own problems. My kids will tell me, "Oh, Dad, you failed us." But the truth is that they failed themselves in so many ways because they didn't go out and vote. If they collectively went out to vote, fine. But I'm saying, okay, as parents, we will lead the way. I have the experience. I've been MPN 79. I ran, executed, planned, the whole works 93.
Yeah, and it was very interesting that at that young age, you were following your dad everywhere. You were almost like his campaign manager.
That's another thing we need to get to do as parents. If you want your kid to be a doctor, a lawyer, whatever, remember that they have to they have to exist in an environment. Encourage them to equally get into politics. Because why? If they don't manage their own, how would they cater for their own? That's the thing. I was 28, 29 then, the last one. I jumped into it fully. I'm lucky I had a parents that allowed me to take that and run with it. And because of that, I have enormous insight. And what I'm trying to also bring to the table is, look, I've been through it, I've done it. I know where the problems are. And I know from experience how we're going to change this. And the only way to change is to know how I know to. And that's what I'm preaching.
Yeah, and I'm interested in knowing the role you played in that Just Convention.
Oh.
Where your dad, had to be going around, and then, it was difficult at some point in time. It looked like he wasn't going to win, and then at some point it looked like the military weren't ready. And then all of a sudden, he was able to defeat, top politicians to pick up that ticket, and then everybody within the elite class suddenly became afraid of an Abiola winning election. Tell us about that.
It was a mass convention. You see, it goes back to the role of the governors today. It started a long time ago. So what we did in Joseph was to basically plan a coup against them. If it's left to the governors, we never would have won that election. But thanks to the late General Yaradua, thanks to the late MS Buhari and a few others like that, we overcame that. Now, that's because we had a design to take the delegates off the governors. We had to boss them all the way to Kaduna, off the governors, and drive them straight from Kaduna's area, straight to the venue. Now, it didn't quite work out well. That's why we had a second vote. And thanks to Vice President Atiku, we could work it out that we had a straightforward 2-vote going into the second round. And like I said, it was all about, the beauty of our MKO was that everybody knew him. The issue was just converting that popularity to votes. And I must not forget another name, the late... No, I mentioned him already. Babade Dubu in Ibadan.
In Ibadan, yeah. I read his book where he actually mentioned all of this, including the role of Baba Gana Kingibe.
Exactly. So we defeated them then, and I think we need to defeat them again now. We need to take it off them now.
So the governors are part of Nigeria's major problems.
You said it all. What can I tell you? We have to just, and that's because they've created a bubble into politics that you have very few of them can afford to. And the economy, unfortunately, over the years has gone down the tubes. So poverty has not even helped the matters much. And if you're going to cater and employ and speak to the needs of our youth, we need to have a different approach to this. We have to have a new disruptive process. I am going to lead that as much as I can. And it's not going to be overnight. But if I tell you, like I said earlier on, 0 to 36 is 80% of this population. What I'm after is that if we, through PRP, can elect 40% of the elective offices in this country, politics will never be the same again going forward.
And you think that is possible starting from 2023?
It is possible, because you see, what's going to happen, that bubble is so small now in those other parties. It used to be a big bubble. At 100 million and so on, they made it so small now that there's going to be so many aggrieved people who ordinarily on their own will win elections, and they will be denied. Okay. They must have a better order structure to come to. And I think I can see us inheriting quite a lot going forward.
Very interesting. Yeah. So, Kola Abiola, I'll just ask you to hold on while we go on this short break. When we come back, I will be interested in knowing how we're able to get a Muslim ticket in the 1992/1993 presidential political period. You're still watching the Arise interview. The conversation with Kola Abiola continues. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Arise interview, where we speak to the newsmakers as well as ordinary people doing extraordinary things around the world and featuring the voices at the heart of the conversations. I'm Somna Sambo, and my guest is still Kola Abiola, a member of the People's Redemption Party and a scion of the Moshood Abiola dynasty. So good to still have you here, Kola. Let's talk about the novelty that the 1993 presidential elections introduced to Nigeria's polity. Having a Muslim ticket for the first time, and Nigerians went ahead to vote for that. How did it happen?
Well, we came into the party late. After the first annulment of the primaries, then we came in. And by the time we got into the party chairman back then was
Baba Gana
Kingibe. Now, Ambassador had all the party offices had gone at that point. There were there were governors, speaker, all that was done. So when we came in, coming from the southwest, and looking at the geopolitical situation, once we won, we really didn't have a choice but to pick a running mate from the north. Now, prior to that, I'd had a discussion with General Yaradua a long time ago, way before we even got into the race. And funny enough, in this hotel, I met with my dad's assistant and the Abuja Bureau Chief, Ulu Akerele. He asked me, how do I see this thing working out? I sat down and I wrote him a step-by-step PowerPoint, so to speak, as to how this thing will play. And I told him, I heard that we're going to have to pick a Muslim running mate. And he said, no, that's not possible. I said, yes, we're going to have to play. And I mentioned the candidate by name.
Interesting.
By name.
Despite the fact that head of state then, General Ibrahim Babangida, wanted Pascal Bafia, the NLC president then, to be the running mate of Abiola. The Pascal bit
came after we had won. I'm telling you, way before we even started the election. Way before we started the primaries. And I gave the specific name. And I said, but that depends on how things work out after the primaries. So we went. I knew fully well we're going to end up with that. And when we did the first round of elections in Jos, we met and sat down with the Vice President, Atiku. We had a discussion. And I'd known all along that's why we're going to have a Muslim running mate anyway. So I figured it would be a perfect match. He agreed. I left him and my dad to work out the detail. And I called in General, who sanctioned General Yadua, who sanctioned the whole arrangement.
That's for exactly. An Abiola and Atiku ticket. And
in many ways, Vice President Atiku then also said, you know what, whatever I've done to date, consider that my contribution to this game going forward, which was very magnanimous of him to do. So we moved on from there and went to the grounds. We won the election quite all right. But you see, the convention was split into two camps, basically. We had the PF people, and we had what they call the Governors Forum. These governors things have been around for a while.
Yeah.
So, if we went the way we were going to go, they were totally left out. So there was this back and forth, long, winding thing about, well, on the one hand, there was another group, PSP, I think it was, in the group, that insisted there had to be a balance. We had to pick a Christian running mate. That's why the Bafios came in, Dan Suleiman came in, and all those names. But I insisted, no, if we do that, we're going to lose the whole 15 northern states. And I stood my ground and said, no, it has to be. Along the lines, the governors group, including my governor back then, Aremo Oshoba, and everybody. So I said, no, I had a deal. This is the deal. That deal I was going to keep. And as a compromise of not losing the whole thing, I said, okay, fine. So I flew from Abuja. I think the ambassador was in Jos on a project. So I flew to Jos, met with him, had a discussion, and said, this is what we're doing, and this is what it's all about. And then we flew back to Abuja to meet my dad. And the rest is history from there. But we did not have a choice. Now, my fear is the gains of that has been eroded by careless leadership. We broke all the rules, all the taboos with that election. We had a voter turnout, barracks, military posts, individuals, north, south, east, west, voting. And that perfect election has gone to what has become religion, not ethnic. What still, even within the ethnics, it's become clannish. So I'm from Ogun State. It's not good enough to have a Yoruba man. It has to be from Egba or Egbado, or if that doesn't work, it has to be Muslim or Christian. So it's really gotten
and a lot of persons actually
So
actually beginning to rethink about that period and how it can still work during this period. I mean, because if you look at the All Progressives Congress, for example, there's a big fear within the Asiwaju Bola Tinubu camp that if he emerges, for example, he would have to try something like that for him to be able to win. But a lot of persons are also promising him hell if he decides to do a Muslim ticket, because Nigeria's political demography right now doesn't accommodate that. And the issue of national unity comes into play. And a lot of persons are also, on the other hand, saying that the best way for any ticket to fly right now is to have a Christian-Muslim ticket or a Muslim-Christian ticket. How do you think we can resolve all of these issues?
I understand what you're saying. I hear you loud and clear. But you see, the first thing Nigeria needs today is a leadership or a leader or a president that signifies Nigeria. A person that is seen as a Nigerian first. If you solve that problem, all other things are solved.
And you think that's possible in the Nigeria of today?
I don't see why not.
Where our ethnic lens,
I don't see why
religious lens first.
That is why the youth
looking at the nation.
That's the difference with the youth. They're looking for somebody who's national, has their interest, and can do the job. That's what they care about. They don't really care where you come from, whether you're Christian, Muslim. They don't really care about that. All they care about is somebody who can really go there and be innovative enough to solve our problem. That's what they're looking at. And for them, whether that guy is Muslim, Christian, or running a Muslim ticket, I don't think it matters to them much. Because if you look at their industries, music, creative arts, tech, fashion, movies, they work like they don't have no boundaries. It doesn't matter to them. They work with anybody as long as you have the same mindset, and we can move and flow together.
Yeah, but in
they
politics,
don't ask you
it's
where
a
you
different game. I mean,
that thing has to permeate even into politics.
Do you believe in zoning? And do you think it's the turn of the South to produce the next president of the country?
Thank God in PLP we don't have that legacy issue in PLP. The presidential candidate or any candidate for that matter is not zoned. We're looking for the best we can get in our party. So it's not zoned. We don't have that legacy issue. They have been in power for long, so they have that issue to deal with. But in PRP, you don't have that issue.
Yeah, but how about you yourself? Do you believe in zoning? I believe it's the turn of the South to produce the next president of Nigeria?
I believe in having the best person to do the job, who can relate with our teeming youth, who understand the needs and can make that change, and has the intellect and capacity to do that. Whether it's Yoruba, from the east, from the south. But you see, and why it's also important that that whoever that person is has to be seen as a Nigerian, a unifying person. We're so dissected right now that it has to symbolize something that can give us hope to be together as one. Once you bridge that gap, and that person bridges that gap, it wouldn't matter where he comes from. That's my belief.
Now let's go back to the past. Did your dad betray Atiku Abubakar by not giving him the vice presidential slot?
No, I wouldn't say so.
Imagine, considering all the efforts of late General Shehu Yaradua to ensure that Abiola emerges, and just when that happened, all of a sudden, Baba Gana Kingibe emerged as the running mate to Abiola because of the governors behind him.
No, I don't think so. It was an understanding we reached and we discussed. It was, you know, in those days, it's all about the party first and foremost. We had to win an election, right? That is one. Two, the truth of the matter is that they're all from the same camp. Be it Vice President Atiku, be it Ambassador Baba Kingibe. We were all from the same PF group, family. And the only reason why there was a separation was because an Alhaji MS Buhari went with the ambassador because of their Kanuri linkage. But really, at the end of the day, once the primaries was over, we came together as one family again. And we took decisions as such. So it's all about no one person is bigger than the party and the group. And that's how we've run it. And the Dakos Harumis of this world and so on were all part of us trying to understand that, look, at the end of the day, what do we do to have a unified party that takes us to winning the election, and that's it. Even the late general led the whole exercise leading up to the election. The late president and I were like tag mates. He was my senior brother. We worked in the planning of the delegates and everything. The late Umaru Yaradua. So we worked as a team. Yeah, leadership requires objectivity at times and maturity, and which I would say even Vice President Atiku had plenty of that going for him. So we could come together and make it work. And at the end of the day, we did our bit. Whatever happens subsequently, well, that's up to God.
And he is contesting for the presidency in 2023.
Even, you know what? As God will have it, who ended up VP eventually?
Well,
that's life.
He got it in 1999.
Yeah, that's life.
Well, he's contesting for the presidency in 2023 again.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been a serial presidential contestant here and there. What do you make of Atiku's ambition to be president again?
That's a tough one because I'm close to the man. Look, if we have people even older than him running in this election, so why can't he try it himself? He has the option too. Whatever happens, this will definitely be his last go at it. If he thinks it's necessary to give it a shot, all the best. I'm not in his party, so...
Will you be contesting for the presidency to challenge an Atiku if he emerges as the PDP presidential candidate?
If I contest as PDP, but PRP, but of course I like to challenge everybody, and I don't have a problem doing that at all. I'm very comfortable doing that. What I bring to the table is totally different from the different things.
So you're contesting for the presidency?
No, I'm not yet. I'm just
You're still consulting.
I'm still in the party. I have joined the party. I'm getting to understand the party. I've been speaking to my BOTs. I've been speaking to a lot of people generally. And it's a two-way thing. It's not about me. It's about making sure this youth work with the party to make the party a success. Without them, this party will not work. Without them being there to put in their energy, it's not a money political game. We want to build an army of voters in them that would protect their votes and get the rewards for it. That's what we're doing.
Now, with the Southwest having held the presidency in the Fourth Republic for 8 years and then the vice presidency for another 8 years, do you think it's politically right for someone from the Southwest geopolitical zone to want to contest for the presidency again?
See, you're looking at it, still looking at it from the political party elders' perspective.
Well, I mean, these are the things we hear every now and then as journalists.
Yeah, you're still looking at it from the political party elders' perspective. The guys and girls and the people that truly own Nigeria, I don't think they see that difference. And that's the numbers that will give anybody a mandate to make change. I think in the last voters registration, there were 50% of them. If those guys go out to vote, they don't share the same perspective the party elders share. All they share is to work with people like minds who will change this country. They're blind to that, because in that rotational system that they've done in the past, has it really paid them really? Not too long ago, like in university, we had bursaries, we had cafeterias that worked, we had everything that worked. This country has let them down, absolutely.
Now, let's go to your family. I mean, you are the scion of the Abiola dynasty. Yeah. You must have heard that your sister is the Director General of the campaign organization of Yaya Bello.
Yes.
And she made a comparison saying that Yaya Bello has some of the ideals that your father shared. But a colleague of mine who also happens to be your sister, Tundu, argued against that, saying that, I mean, that's going too far. We haven't heard you saying anything about this controversy.
My late father, MKO, is a national brand. And it's a national brand that belongs to all Nigerians. We are the custodians of that brand. And For me, as the head of the family, my response is a lot more mature. I'd rather not discuss family issues publicly. That's my role, is to protect that. And not just protecting that, but protecting MKO himself and what it stands for. So I wouldn't comment publicly on that. If I have my comments, when I see her outside, I'll make them directly to her, or any family member that wants my comments. But publicly, I would never do that.
So that's to say that you haven't had any family meeting about that since it happened? They've
asked, they come to me and ask, and I tell them what I think. But that's it, it's family. I won't go publicly and start, you know, I have to play the mature one here. And that's always been my role. Even at my own expense, at my own detriment, I just keep quiet and take it in, because that's the role I am meant to play. And that's how I see it.
Let's talk about MKO Abiola.
Please.
The man Nigerians voted for in 1993.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about this man and some of the ideals he stood for, not just as your father, but as a nationalist who was also honored by the Buhari administration and being recognized with the honor of GCFR, which is reserved only for presidents. Tell us more about this man before we end the show.
MKO is my hero. I mean, I've always said it, next to God, that's my own God on earth. We're not all perfect, but he had a beautiful heart. And that, for me, speaks volume about MKO. Now, he was fairness to an extreme. And I'm here today because he allowed me to plunge into that river many times, get wet, survive, come out to tell the story. And I am benefiting from that. Politically, I have. Business, I have. He's not a father that will say, no, it's always me. No. If you buy him a shirt or a wristwatch, everybody who comes through him or sees him, he will say, don't you like my wristwatch?
Yeah, I mean.
This is Kola. Kola bought this for me. Or one of our kids bought this tie for me. That's him. And he's, as a father, he was so close to us. He was all over the place, but still very close to us at the same time. So I don't, and he's a guy that had enormous foresight. I think that's how I can summarize him. His foresight is unbelievable. It doesn't look like nothing today, but years down, you will now say, come. And he does some things that you don't understand at times.
You were close to him. What sort of Nigeria did he dream of, and what would he have done if he had become president?
He believed in technocrats. He's a Nigerian that didn't care where you come from as long as he can do the job right. And he will put Nigerians first. He believed we had the talent and we will do it the best we can, understanding our own environment more than any other person. In the early days when we were doing ITT, RCN, and the DOMSAT system and the Kola system, we had in and out experts. But he made sure that as they were coming, we were sending our own out to train, till we ended up with zero. In Habib Bank then, we had the Pakistani was always the MD, we had the DMD as a Nigerian, and so on and so forth. It got to a bond between one day, I said to him, where the MD was about to leave then, and they were going to second a new MD, and he said, come, you, DMD, can't you do what he's doing? Can't you do it? Why do we need another expert? And believe it or not, that day the guy became the MD, just for that reason. And that's what he always believed. When we go to Summit Oil, for example, we did that in 100% indigenous. He's a believer in that. Concord newspapers. You took what were kids then and just threw them in there and go and do their thing. And they're all over the place today.
Yeah, but
including your chairman.
A lot of persons said that some of you have failed him by not living up to his ideology of keeping these companies running. I mean, hardly will you see any of these companies still existing in the country. I mean,
good question.
What happened?
Many of them should never, ever, ever pray to fight government. Any one of them should ever, never, ever want to have a government decide to chop off your legs. You can never win that situation. And that is the beginning of, you see, all these companies, like I said, they didn't come over overnight. They didn't come all together in one day. It was a progression. And somebody with the might of governance decides to shut them down one day. Anybody, look, people forget that I was only 28, 29 then, for God's sake. And I've done, and if any one of them, I challenge anybody, if they can actually keep it going the way I did back then, till to date, was the number and the size of the family I inherited. Not like I didn't know it was there, I didn't know that it was there, but I inherited. And you had to deal with the might of the government, not just a military, but even a civilian one.
Very interesting indeed.
Let them write the book for me.
Okay, very tough one. But I just want to take you back to that question I was asking, because you didn't really talk about Yaya Bello. I mean, your sister being campaign DG, yes, you talked about that. It's a family issue. But the comparison of Yaya Bello with your dad, I mean, do you see those, do you share those sort of ideals? Because he's a young person and all of that, and maybe the thinking is that he represents some of those ideals. And then secondly, you have this Tribe Niger app, which is mobilizing lots of young Nigerians and all of that. Tell us how many people have subscribed to it and how it's helping to reshape, you know, the thinking of the young people about the polity.
Okay, the first question. You just asked me now, what do I think of MKO? How do I know MKO? That's what I think about MKO.
Yeah, but you didn't talk about Yaya Bello. I wanted you to talk about that comparison.
I cannot talk about Yaya Bello. I don't even know the guy. I think I met him once or twice, but that's just about it. I don't know him to talk about him.
Okay.
That's that. And I can't shave his head behind him. It has to be here for me to do that. So I don't even know him well enough.
Like your dad would actually say, you can't shave a man's head in his absence.
I'm also, he's a lot younger than I am anyway, so I'm not so old either, but okay, that's that.
Let's talk about your app then, and how it's mobilizing Nigerians.
You see, one thing I found out is that, yes, the guy in FCT, the guy in Abeokuta, the guy in Sokoto, the guy in Kebbi, Kaduna, Zamfara, we have different needs. We're under different circumstances. But our circumstances are just about the same, no matter how varying the degrees are, because of the lack of proper leadership we have. So you can't split us on the fact that playing sentiment. What you're trying to do is split us that, but you're not actually facing the crux of the problem, which is the lack of leadership. So I set up that app to get us to start talking. From talking, we will know exactly our needs, but also come to the conclusion that what we are lacking is leadership.
And how many people do you have on the app? I mean, a lot of Nigerians have been interested in knowing that.
I haven't checked lately, but we're in 68 countries, if I'm correct, live. We have in excess of over 200 on that app, if I remember.
200,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
And more, and it's even gone crazy now with my PRP palaver now. Thank God for that. And I think the problem initially was people had a difficulty in seeing my sincerity. Like I said, the political class seemed to use everybody for their means. But I'm telling them, okay, look, it's a little different now. And that's why I will pick a PRP anytime, any day.
Yeah, and the PRP you intend to run on that platform, do you think it's a very strong political machinery that can win you elections whenever you decide to run on it?
That's more the intent is different from when I decide. So now, yes, because nowadays, I think our youth have seen the difference. It's all about the individual. They have to believe in the individual. When I tell them, go and get your PVCs, I'm not telling them to go and get PVCs just to vote for PRP.
Or to vote for you alone.
Or vote for me. I'm not telling that. All I want you just get it and have that option to vote for whoever you want, irrespective of the party.
We've seen the likes of Atahiru Jega, former INEC national chairman, joining the party, Falalu Bello, former MD Unity Bank, joining it. I mean, what sort of new atmosphere is there within the PRP in less than
the leadership is new. They've changed and brought it back on the right path. The BOT has been there. They're very seasoned people who haven't gotten involved. And that's very important. They haven't gotten involved because they know that age bracket there is to guide. not get involved. And we are hoping to bring in the next set of people to drive this. We won an election in Jos easily. We won it even in Katsina.
Yeah, and that's why some people are saying that the PRP is a regional party. I mean, it's only strong in the north.
Yeah.
How do you intend to make it strong in the southern part of the country?
Myself, I'm bringing everybody in there, and then bringing them, and that's why in the south, especially, it gives them an opportunity to go in and actually get elected and get involved for nothing, compared to what you'll have to pay or cost in other parties. And I'm hoping, and I'm praying, and I'm preaching it to everybody I know at that age group. I've gone round as many as there are possible. This is a time for you, for a change. Have the elders hold the horn of the bull while you milk it at the back, for a change. Because in the past, it's always been the other way around.
Yeah, and you believe INEC has prepared the atmosphere to win elections credibly, very quickly before we go.
If you don't come out to vote, then you leave room for hanky-panky. If you all come out to vote, it's very difficult to. You can only protect what you have earned, and that's why I stand.
Well, we must thank you so much, Kola Abiola, for joining us on the show to talk about issues in the past. And I'm very glad you've settled this issue of Muslim ticket as it happens, so that a lot of young Nigerians will understand that we once had a country that was very united. Thank you for joining us on the show, and we can only wish you well whenever you intend to contest. We are all there to feature you and question your ambition and then what you intend to do for Nigerians. Well, that's how it's been for this special edition of the Arise interview, where we have been interviewing Kola Abiola, the scion of the Abiola dynasty. Do join us again tomorrow from me and the entire team here in Abuja. Goodbye and thank you for watching. I'm Summer Sambo.